Thank you, Brother Bartlett. And again, this is, I think, our third or fourth forum that we've sponsored to try to educate the community. So tonight we have two separate forums. We're going to have you meet the candidates for East Point Wards A, and then after that we'll have Ward B. So what we'll do is I'm going to allow the candidates to introduce themselves and take about 3 or 4 minutes and tell us your vision, why you want to serve the city of East Point on the city council. And I go with you first, Councilwoman.
Thank you. My name is Sharon Swapshire. I am the current council member for the city of East Point, Ward A at large. And I've been in the city for exactly 36 years. My background is administrative. I work for the federal government. And my vision for the city is to continue growth, to bring people to the city, to make East Point a live, work, and play city. East Point is no longer a sleepy city. East Point is a growing city. I want to grow our city more to a vibrant city, to have residents and visitors to come to our city to visit our nice homes, nice community, and to say that they want to live here and that they move here. That is part of my vision. My vision is to continue to do the work for the residents as I've always done, and I will continue to do. Once again, to make East Point a place where people call their home, a live, work, and play city, to build up our city and to showcase our city, the beauty of our city. And I'll yield. Thank you.
You're muted, Brother Davis.
I'm sorry, Ms. Banks, please introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for East Point City Council. And before you start, I know that we do have some people that are watching. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and put those questions in, and I'll make sure that I ask those questions. So go ahead and you can start putting your questions together. All right, Mr. Bankston.
Yes, my name is Elijah Bankston. I moved to East Point in 2017, 4 years ago. In living here, I recognize I have the full privilege to choose my community as much or as little as I desire. Me running for office is me choosing to experience my community more. In my privilege, I recognize that there are many persons that don't have the full privilege of choice that I have. And I want to enable all persons to experience an improved quality of life. Moreover, I'm running to help build a community of productive, caring, and responsible citizens. And that is why I'm running.
Okay, let me check and see if we have, all right, there's been a lot of discussions about a lot of the issues that are taking place in the city of East Point. And I'm gonna ask, and I go with you first, Mr. Banks, what do you think is the #1 issue facing the citizens of East Point?
One thing I think that the citizens face, the #1 issue is housing affordability. One of the things that is happening in the Metro Atlanta area is home prices and rents are going up. And so we have to figure out, how do we find a balance to make sure that East Point stays affordable for all persons. I moved here in 2017 because East Point was affordable. I bought a home right out of college because it was affordable. Moreover,
All right, go ahead. We're just checking some messages. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, I moved to East Point in 2017 because it was affordable and it was accessible via MARTA. And one of the things that, unfortunately, I think we're missing out here in East Point is our middle market housing, housing whereby for middle class workers. And I think that in building the community around middle class, we'll see improvements when it comes to crime, to litter, and other things of that nature. So that is one of the things that I think that East Point struggles with and going forward.
Okay, Councilwoman, same question.
Thank you. One of the issues that I see that is pressing One, we had a recent town hall meeting, and what came out of it was basically code enforcement as well as planning and zoning. For as our housing, we do have affordable housing, and we're continuing to put policies, put things in place to make sure that the housing is affordable for all people, especially our residents. We just did a deal with the Wagon Work, where that's going to be mixed use and affordable housing for people in the income bracket of 40,000 to, I believe, 50,000. So the city is making sure that we are in line with making houses more affordable and continuing to do that. But our pressing issue, like I said, and we did a town hall meeting, is planning and zoning and code enforcement. And those are the items that we have to work on.
I do have this question that to both of you, and I think as it relates to the city of East Point, I've heard both of you mention about affordable housing. And I think East Point has probably about 70% or more affordable housing. So when you talk about affordable housing, we do know that, and we do understand that to mean where it's livable and people can afford it. How does that, or what effect does that have on your tax base when you're saying that you're having 70% or more what we call affordable housing? And how does that relate to your tax base? And I go with you, Councilwoman first.
Thank you. How it relates to our tax base is one, East Point, we just, even though your property values are going up, and that helps the city in a way, because our property values are going up. We just we lowered our millage rate because we knew that the property values was going up, and we didn't want the citizens to have a burden. For as the affordable housing, it helps the city because you have mixed use. You have seniors, and I think affordable housing is not really hurting our property taxes. It's actually helping our taxes. But at the same time, like I said, we lowered our millage rate because we knew that the property values was going up throughout the state or within the city. And we wanted to make sure that people can maintain their taxes. And we also have tax where once you reach the age of 70, our seniors no longer pay that property tax because they're at that age where that's East Point's ordinance that they have in place. So that is where I see affordable housing actually helps our taxes because you bring in more people in your city who can afford the homes, your families with children who can afford the homes, to maintain the homes, and who can keep the homes up.
Okay, Mr. Blackson, same question.
Yeah, so the topic was affordable housing. So I think when we speak about affordable housing, housing is affordable based on income, right? So when I speak more or less, we don't necessarily need more affordable housing based on the income levels whereby income levels are 40,000 and below. We're missing housing in the city for the middle class. Middle class workers are unable to move to East Point now. If I were to graduate college today and try to buy a home here in East Point, I would not be able to, making that same middle class income that I had when I graduated college just 4 years ago. Just a few years ago. So that is what I'm saying. We need to make sure that we have a housing stock in East Point for the middle class. It is in building our middle class, we help those We help those that are not middle class. And that is where you build and you start to build your community, starting with your middle class workers and making sure that you have a housing stock that middle class workers would desire. It is in understanding their needs and their wants is where it begins. And that is how you get the community that you desire.
Okay. Here's a question. And I think somebody wants to know, how do you make, it seems that there is an issue or problems with people trying to get permits to do certain things in the city. Councilwoman Shepherd, have you heard of anything like this? Or what would be your suggestions to make it easier for people to get certain permits?
Yes, I have. I have heard of the permitting problems that we've had in our planning and community department. We went through the planning and zoning department went to a new system, and the new system was causing some of the problems. However, we as council voted, and this was recently on the agenda, for a timeline and a overall of how they're going to fix the problems that are going on in planning and zoning. Are we getting there? Yes. Can we do better? Absolutely. What we don't want is people to come in and have problems and can't get permits. We want them to come in and be able to get permit, get service, and the things that they need to continue to build in the city, continue to make this city grow. So we are working on those problems. And like I said in the beginning, when we had the town hall meeting, that was one of the concerns that the citizens had, was the problem in the planning and zoning department. And we are working on that, putting things in place, doing an overall rewrite of the ordinances and things that we can change to make it better for people and easier for people when they come to apply for the permits.
Okay. And I think since that was more of a question as to what you can do now, I think, Mr. Banks, I'm going to ask you a different question. And the question is somewhat, I mean, you mentioned that you've been living in East Point for about 4 years. So during that 4-year time, can you tell us what have you done to be an advocate for the people of East Point? How many city council meetings have you gone and made a bunch of noise or anything like that? So in 4 years, what have been your role? How have you been involved in the community and been a voice in the city of East Point?
Yes, so I've attended multiple city council meetings. One of the things that I think is important is it's important just to listen. Again, like you stated, I've only been here for 4 years. So I listen and you learn to see how a city operates, to see how council operates. And in my observation, again, I'm an auditor. And so that is one of the things that we do. We observe first. And so this is in making my observation over these last 4 years, I can see that many of the council meetings sometimes lead to discourse and things that the actions that are taken and sometimes are not, to me, the best actions based on the things that the city has set as desires in their comprehensive plan. Before I moved here to East Point, I actually reviewed the comprehensive plan and said, oh, wow, this city has a plan in place to get things done. And in these 4 years, I said, wait, hold on. They're not taking the steps that are necessary to achieve the things that they say they want to do. And I believe that it is just in not recognizing that there are numbers and metrics behind desires, and you have to strive to reach those number and metrics. So again, I've been attending the city council meetings over my 4 years here, and I do know my neighbors. I have a church home here, and I serve with them in community events and cleaning up litter. But yes, I think it is one, you stop and you say, you listen, and we see that how things operate, and you give an observation. And now it is my time to speak, to say, hey, things are not going as the city has set desires, because unfortunately, I don't think that people understand the metrics and the numbers behind the things that they have set out to do.
Okay, so so you mentioned board meetings and this, go to councilperson, you can answer, I'll ask this of you first. What has been your working relationship with the other council meeting members during your time? Because I know there's been a lot of discussion from people. Is there, I guess like I hear from other different city councils, there's certain groups, there's certain pockets where those individuals stick together. So what has been your working relationship with the other members of council?
So I do have, I've met certain council.
Let me ask that from the council first.
My working relationship with other council members are good. We work together as a council because we're working for the people. So we sometimes you disagree, but you have to make the best decision for the residents of East Point. So our working relationship is good on council, just like my relationship in the community is good. Like I say, I've been here 36 years. I started speaking at council meeting 15 years before I decided to run. I've always been an advocate for the people, and I've always spoke for the people, and I've always got to know who my council members are, and I've always been involved in the city. So I attended council meetings, and I also spoke at council meeting on issues that were concerning to the residents. But back to your question, my relationship with council and mayor, we have a good working relationship because we know that we have to do the business of the people.
Okay, and Ms. Blankson, my question to you, something related to that, is during the time that you've been living in East Point, are there any civic organizations, a board, a business group that you're a part of that have worked to advocate certain issues for the people of East Point?
Again, I attend a church here that serves the community. My church is in River Park, and so we serve in that community, and we allow River Park. So in that sense, yes. But I would say that again, people serve differently. People serve differently. I listen first, and then again, I've been here 4 years, and it is in listening that you can accomplish a lot. One of the things that is important is to recognize that, will I get my voice heard? Will my voice be heard on council? Right? Again, I'm an auditor. And when I say something from a professional standpoint, it is so things can change, right? It is so things can change. So I don't want to be speaking in vain if I don't feel as if my voice will be heard. But so now this is my opportunity for my voice to be heard, to voice, to again, for people that are having table conversations in their own homes and among their own friends, right? Again, not everyone has the time to go to a council meeting, right? Every time. So this is my time to say, hey, there are thoughts and opinions of people that don't feel as if their voice is being heard, and this is their voice being heard now. Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask this, and I know this has been an issue with a lot of the municipalities around the South Fulton area, and that's an issue of, and I'm gonna probably group all of this together, an issue of crime, an issue of reduction in police officers, and also some budget issues. Taking all of that in consideration, that you don't have all the money that you need for public safety, that you do have police officers that are leaving the force, and also that you do have an issue of crime, specifically most of the time when you hear it, it's around the Camp Creek area. So how would you address the issue of crime, taking in those three things in consideration? I go with you first, Mr. Bankston, then I come to the Councilman Sherbert.
Yes, I think when you talk about crime, it is important, especially when you're working with other citizens in South Fulton. Partnerships and cooperation is definitely important to reduce crime and including intel and that sort of things. But when you talk about cooperation, it's also in competition. what is East Point, the city of East Point, doing to make sure that their police force and that their city is competitive in the attraction of police officers. So when we think about our South Side cities, what are we doing to make sure that we are the best city where officers will want to join, but not just join, but to stay and to grow with us as we grow. And I think that it is in doing multiple things by, again, growing your middle class and doing things that the community wants to do, having a listening ear in the community, but also having a listening ear, giving a listening ear to the police officers as well, to make sure that their needs and wants are addressed.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Sheriff, Sherwood, what, you understand the question? Do I need, I know it was I sort of grouped it together, but I'm basically asking you, how do you address your budget issue, public safety and crime with the recent loss of many officers on your police force?
Okay, thank you for that question. So how we address the issue with crime, because crime is down in East Point by 12%, even violent crime. What we do is our police officers came to us with a 5-year plan with things that they needed. We provided it for them. We also gave them a salary increase. We also did the increase where if they go to college, if they go back to school to get certain degrees, they get an increase in that, because we know that it's competitive and we're trying to retain our officers. We also just did a health insurance where we are subsidizing that to take that burden off of them, because we know that's one of the things. But for as crime, we listen to them when things that they need, such as technology, the body cameras, the shot spotters, partnering with the Ring, also partnering with neighboring cities when they need them to help in case something major happens, such as Camp Creek. That was a partnership to stop the crime, as well as a curfew that was put in place to stop the crime that was happening there. That was a partnership between the city of East Point, the city of South Fulton, and Fulton County and Atlanta. So it's working together to stop things, but it's also providing things that your police department needs to keep them going and to keep them here. And that's why I say they brought to us their 5-year plan. We provided pretty much everything in that plan that they needed to help them continue to stay here and run the city and make the city safe.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a question because you did mention Camp Creek and you did mention crime and you did mention the decrease in crime. And I'm always of the opinion that if crime is down 30 or 40%, that doesn't make a difference if I go out and my car is stolen the next day. But let me just say this about Camp Creek. Why does the city project an illusion of having a police precinct in East Point when there's no officers that are at that precinct? Considering the crime that you have in the Camp Creek area, I've realized that there's a precinct over, I guess, around, I forgot what used to be the Sprint store, but I've never seen an officer. I always see cars there. So it gives an illusion like, okay, there's a precinct, but it's not a real precinct. So what would you do to make that a real precinct? And probably when you talk about working together, having a precinct that East Point can use, and also the city of Atlanta, since they are patrolling where the theater is.
That's a good question. And actually, it is a place where they can go and fill out their what is it?
Report.
Work form. Yes. It is that. We are open to, if it needs to be staffed as a full police station. When it was built, it was not that. It was that place, and we have several of those places in East Point. Another one is on Washington Road in the Washington Road Plaza, where you can go and fill out your work form, your police reports when they're in the area. If our police chief comes to us and say, we need to make this a police precinct, we will do it, because we want to make sure that all residents and people who visit East Point are safe. But that is not a precinct. It was not built to be a precinct. It is a place where they go and fill out their work form.
Okay, Mr. Bankston, do you have any reply to that? Any thoughts?
I don't have any, not specifically to the Camp Creek location, but I would just like to just pose the question that the councilwoman has stated many different things that the council and the city has done to just give the police department these things that they requested. However, we still fail on the retention side. So again, we still are losing our officer, and we still need to gain more officers. So why do you believe that we have not held on the retention of our police officers?
Yes, we have lost officers, but you have to understand the reason why. And it's just not East Point. It's across the United States of America. And that is because of the George Floyd incident, where you have officers who no longer want to be officers because of that incident. That's why we have things in place, and we're going to continue to put things in place to assure that our officers stay and we retain them.
Okay, but Councilwoman, I'm gonna allow you, since Mr. Bankston asked you a question, I'm gonna allow you to ask him a question if you have one. I know you probably have one. Look like you're in deep thought about one. So let you go ahead, go ahead and ask him a question.
I don't have one right now. My focus is on this debate and this forum, and just letting the people know who I am. And I've been doing the work for 8 years.
Okay, and since you said that, here's a question. What would be, what would you consider during your time on council to be your greatest accomplishment? And then I'm gonna ask you the other side of that. What have you done on council that you regret or you wish you have done differently? Because I'm a firm believer that anybody in political office, everything that we do is not great. And sometimes we realize, hey, if I could have done this over. So tell me, what is your greatest, what you consider to be your greatest accomplishment up to date? And what is something that you think, if I could do over, I would do it this way?
My greatest accomplishment pretty much is everything that I do. I have so many, such as the Wednesday food giveaway, delivering food to senior citizens, putting in place Clean City Initiative, where we're cleaning senior citizens' yard, as well as cutting back tree limbs to make their homes safe, bringing the COVID vaccine out here to the city, to the residents of East Point, to make sure that they got vaccinated, bringing the flu shot out here to the city of East Point to make sure that their health was safe and that they were able to get the flu shot for free. Also, my greatest accomplishment is making sure that our first responders are living rent-free in Brookville Apartments to deter crime. And also my greatest accomplishment that I'm proud of is the blighted property tax, putting that in place to make homeowners who abandon their property in the city of East Point pay higher taxes until they bring that property back to code standard. So I have so many accomplishments that I can go on, but right now I can't. Well, there is a thing that I do regret, but it's a personnel item that I can't speak on, but that is.
All right, so Mr. Bankston, just to be fair, similar type question. Let's say that you won this election. What was the first thing you would want to do when you get in office?
Mr. Davis, you're kind of going out.
Brother Davis, you went out on, you faded out. So you restate that question, please, sir.
Bankston, let's say you won this election, and in January, what's the first thing that you want to see or work on to get accomplished?
Yeah, so actually the first thing that I would like to see, I think as the councilwoman did state, our ordinances need to be addressed. And so it would be my goal to actually go out and speak to our businesses, our new businesses, to see what challenges they faced when they were trying to establish a business here in the city of East Point. Because we need to be a place where businesses come so that we can increase our tax base, but not just the businesses that are here in the city of East Point, but also looking at contractors that do work in the city of East Point to say, hey, what are the challenges? What are the challenges you face in trying to get through the Port process? But not just stopping at the contractors that do work, the ones that choose not to do work here, because there's a reason why there are so many contractors that choose not to do work in the city of East Point. It is in knowing these issues that we can try to address them. When we talk about ordinances, it is twofold. It is one, the ordinances that council sets. So yes, the ordinances may and do need to be rewritten. But when those ordinances do get in place, we need to make sure that the processes that they process through the department in an efficient and effective manner, so that people don't have issues, unnecessary issues, as they do now. So really that will be my first goal, to really look at our ordinances to make sure that they are optimized, because as an auditor, I look at processes for many different organizations, including international organizations over my career. And what I do is optimize processes. So if you are looking for a council person that optimizes processes and can get into the ordinances and find ways for better effectiveness and efficiency, I be that person. Thank you.
Let me ask this, and I go with you first, Councilwoman. What are some of the ways, or what are some of the things you have put in place or attempted to put in place that would attract business to the city of East Point?
Well, right now we currently have in place, right now we need more buildings and to have more. Say your question again.
What are some of the things that you have done or attempted to do to attract more businesses to the city of East Point?
What we've done for our economic development is we have a process in place where we have incentives. And if you are a new business that's coming to the city of East Point, we have incentives in place that will help you with your taxes, your utility bills, that will get you in the city. We also, right now, they're applying for a grant that will help them give to the business owners to start to, that will give to the business owners. That's some of the things that we have in place right now. We're looking at different ways to get business in the city. Right now, we do need more buildings because we're running out. In our city, in our downtown, and throughout our city is unique, especially our downtown. We want to grow our downtown. We want people to come to our downtown. So like I said, we do have incentives in place to help our businesses, and we'll continue to do that, to make sure we attract the right business and good business to our city.
All right, Ms. Bankston.
Yes, I think.
How would you attract business to the city of East Point?
Yes, in order to attract businesses to the city of East Point is understanding really what the community desires, right? It is one, understanding the types of businesses that the community desires, and then understanding the metrics and the numbers of those businesses to realize what the community wishes to realize. For example, the community we have no grocery store chain in the city of East Point. And we have to recognize the reason why that is. One, we need higher density. We don't have enough citizens in the city of East Point to support a national chain. Secondarily to that, our median income levels are too low to support a national chain. So it is one, identifying those metrics and then saying, hey, we need to make sure that, and go after these metrics to get these businesses that we desire. It is not in just knowing the desires, it is in understanding how to achieve desires, understanding the numbers and the metrics behind the desires. So I would attract more businesses by understanding the number and the metrics and going after the number and the metrics to get what the citizens have said they wish to get. You're either going to choose to do the work or you're going to choose not to do the work. And I'm going to choose to do the work and go after the metrics that the citizens say they want to get the desires that the citizens said they want. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I have a question. and-
Mr. Davis, if I can interrupt you, I do have a question for Mr. Bankston.
Go ahead.
Because what I'm hearing is Mr. Bankston pretty much wants to raise, I would say from what I'm hearing, he feels that the city, the income level is not high enough for a grocery store, a major chain grocery store. We've looked at that, and actually the reason why I believe people don't give their correct income, but you do have the citizens here who medium income is higher than actually what's reported. But what I'm hearing from you is when you say affordable housing, you're not talking about affordable housing for people who make $40,000 to $50,000. You're basically talking about affordable housing for people who make maybe $70,000 to $80,000 to $100,000. When you say we need to increase our density, we're working on that. We're doing that. When you say, and I go back to the medium income. So what you're saying is we need to raise the income level of the people who are moving here because the income level is too low.
Is that a question, Mr. Bennington?
Yes.
No, so I won't take the projection. So when we say if you agree, if you think that the median income of $40,000 of our city is appropriate, that is something that you
I
believe.
didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm
Okay, well,
asking you a question.
So I believe that
Because that's what I'm getting from you, that's too low. That is your middle class right there,
I'm gonna let,
40 to 50,000.
Mr. Bankston go ahead and answer the question.
So I believe that our middle class income, I believe that our average income should be in line with the United States median income, somewhere around $55,000. So you said you wish to attract and have people move to the city of East Point. So yes, I would wish that those who move here would have a higher income, median income that is in line with the United States median income. Yes, there are people that make higher than the median income in the city of East Point, and we need those people to build community. Those people are just as important as those that make more than the median income, are just as important and should have the same voice as those that might not make more than that. So yes, I believe that it takes all incomes to build a community. It takes all incomes to build a community. And each person should have a voice, Councilwoman. Each person should have a voice. And I will give a voice to all. Thank you so much.
All right, so here's a question. Here's a question to Councilman. This is one, and maybe you can tell me a little bit more about this. Somebody wants to know about the concert Wednesday wind down, and that a lot of money is spent, and how is that benefiting the residents of East Point? So can you just shed some light on that? And is it a budget issue? Is it a financial, based on the question?
So the Wednesday Wind Down is a concert series that brings people to East Point. It is the hotel, it is the unrestricted portion of the hotel motel money. That means it's not taxpayers' money. It is people who come and stay in East Point Hotel. It is tourism. It is basically, that's what you can use it for, is tourism. It's bringing people from other places to your city. It is budgeted for, is in the budget. The budget was approved unanimously. We started this concert series in 2017, and it has been going on for 4 years. We didn't do one in 2020, I believe, because of the pandemic. So what it does is it brings people to your city. It brings exposure to your city. It also brings revenue to your cities by vendors with their food truck, that's sales tax, that's people staying in your hotel. But once again, the Wednesday wind down is not taxpayers' money. It is the use of hotel motel money by people visiting your city who stay in the hotel. That's that tourism tax that you pay when you go to any other state.
Okay. Mr. Bankston, I would assume that this is an issue out in the community. Do you have a viewpoint on it?
Yes, so I think that, I am all for community events, but we have to recognize, are we making sensible and responsible decisions when we're choosing to host the event at such a large size? Like the councilwoman said, the hotel motel tax is allotted 3% of unrestricted. That means that 3% of those funds go into the general budget, which means once it enters the general budget, that money can be used in any manner to run the city. And the councilwoman feels as if those funds are used the best to throw a concert series. Again, I have no take on whether it is good or bad. Again, I say that community events are important, but we need to be sensible and responsible in the events that we host, and to make sure that we're making decisions that are efficient so that we can have an effective lifestyle here.
Can I respond to that just to clear
ma'am.
something up?
Yes.
The hotel motel money collects over $2.5 million. Only 150,000 goes to the Wednesday wind down. The rest goes into the general fund. So once again, is tax that people pay into when you come to the city. So it's not a general fund money budget. It is a tax that is paid by people who stay at the hotels. And they collect 2.5 million of that. Only 150 of it goes to the Wednesday wind down. What it's supposed to be used for, because it is tourism, and the rest goes into the general fund to the other department budget. So I just wanted to be clear, and I wanted to make sure you are clear as to how it can be used, because it only can be used for tourism. So it's not like it just goes into the general fund and we take it out. No, you collect about 2.5 million of it, and and only 150 is advocated for the Wednesday wind down, which was voted on and approved because you can use it for tourism to bring people to your city, and the rest goes into the general fund. But my question is, why is the Wednesday wind down an issue when you have 4th of July, Destination of East Point, we just had Spin the District, and we have these other events? So the Wednesday wind down is doing the same as bringing people to your city who wouldn't come to your city. It's tourism.
Okay. Ms. Benson, I'm going to ask you the last question related to this, because somebody, potential voter, or wants to know, do you support or not support Wednesday wind down?
Again, I make no decision on the Wednesday wind down. I think the Wednesday wind down is a community. If the community wants Wednesday wind down, they will get Wednesday wind down. But if I hear that the community doesn't want that, it is not about what I want. It is about what the community wants, right? It's not about what I want. It is about what the community wants. So again, I will be a listening ear and give a listening ear to the community.
All right. So the community wants to know right now, do you support it or don't support it?
Again, that is a decision that will have to be made as I get to know residents. It is not about what I want. It is about what the community wants. It is about what the community wants, and I will serve the community.
Okay, so you don't have a personal opinion?
I will give my listening ear to the community.
Okay. All right, so we appreciate y'all for participating. What I'm going to do is allow each of you a few minutes just to give your closing remarks, and you can give any contact information that you may want to give for anybody that wants to get in, contact your campaign. And I started with the council. Councilman Rowe, I'm gonna let you go first, and then we can close with you, Mr. Bankston. Just your closing remarks, and you can provide a website or phone number, how people can reach you if they're interested in helping your campaign.
Okay, thank you. My closing remarks is I ask for the people to support me another 4 years. I will continue to work for you. I will continue to advocate for you. I will continue to listen to you, and I will continue to be in the community doing the things that I do in helping the community. Whenever you call me, I'm there. I will continue to do that. My priorities, my top priorities will always be policing, economic development, and senior citizens. I want to continue to make East Point a safe place to live. I want to make sure that our seniors are taken care of because they're aging. And I want to make sure that we continue to grow our city with the right businesses, the business that's gonna make people live, work, and play here, and move here and shop here. So I will continue to be the advocate as I've always been when I first came to East Point 36 years ago. I will continue to listen and be the voice for the people, and I will continue to make decisions that will continue to grow East Point. And I will continue to work together with my council members to make sure that we're making the best decision and to make sure that our city manager continues to run the day-to-day operation of the city of East Point. You can reach me at voteswapshire.com. That's my website. And if you want to be a volunteer, just submit in your information under the contact button and let me know if you want a yard sign. Whatever it is that you want, just visit my website at voteswapshire.com. And remember, I'm just one phone call away. If you call me, I will be there to continue to help you. And I want to make sure that I stated something right. The Wednesday wind down in the budget is $150. I don't know if I said something different, but it's $150 in the budget that's approved unanimously by every council member. So thank you for allowing me to come and share my platform. And if any residents have any questions for me, please feel free to contact me. I'm always available. I'm always accessible. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bankston.
Yes, I'm Elijah Bankston, and I'm asking you all to help our city achieve what we know we can achieve by making a change. Change is what we need. Please visit ElijahBankston.com for more information. And on November 2nd, I'm asking that you vote Bankston Ward A at large. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We want to thank both of our candidates for taking the time to be here. I know that they do have other events, and we really appreciate that. And I hope the citizens of East Point really appreciate it so they could get to hear and see the candidates that are running for Ward 8. So I'm going to thank both of you and hope that you can go out and take these next few weeks and get out and reach the voters and let them know why you would be a better fit to serve the city of East Point. So thank you. Both of y'all have a good evening and stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
And everybody else, we're just going to ask you to stay. We have our second group of candidates that are coming in from Ward 4, and we'll start that in about 2 minutes. Brother Bosselus,
Yes, Brother Chair.
you're good. We got our second group. Everybody's here. So if you want to go do a little quick introduction, and then we'll have the candidates start.
Thank you. First, giving honor and praise to the supreme bosses of the universe. I greet each and every one of you. My name is Terrence Green, and I currently serve as the boss list of Phi Kappa Kappa chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I just want to do some housekeeping, if you will, and letting you know that our organization is a 501c7. And as such, we do not endorse or sponsor any particular candidate one over the other. We are here to provide a forum by which you're able to share your platform, your visions, and your solutions to the community. So again, we thank you for joining us. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to Brother Davis. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we have all of our candidates here. And these are the candidates that are running to represent East Point Ward B at large. And what I'm going to do is allow the candidates to take a few minutes to introduce themselves and say why they're running. And then we'll get into questions. So I want to start with Councilperson Renee. You may go first, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you guys for having me. My name is Karen Renee. I represent Ward B at large. I am the incumbent who's running again. I just want to say I'm from Selma, Alabama, originally and raised and born. I graduated from the great school of Alabama State University, came to Georgia, the Atlanta area, to go to Atlanta Law School. From there, I received a job working on Carmen Smith in Solicitor General's office. I did my third year intern under the DA's office. After working with the Solicitor General office for years, I decided to go and work with Job Corps, the Job Corps Center, which is a nationally ran program. And I worked at the Atlanta Job Corps Center. I served there as their business community liaison, working with a lot of the elected officials to make sure that our youth and communities had funding appropriation for the upcoming years. I worked there for 14 years, and after they closed their campus, I was recruited by the Atlanta NAACP to be their program director, and I've been here ever since. I moved to this great city at East Point in 2002, where I reside in Jefferson Park. I've just been working and serving the community for over 20 years now. And I've been working with the residents in the great city of East Point for, I think this is my second term, coming up on my 8th year. And I'm very grateful, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, Ms. McLaughlin, you can go next.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me, gentlemen. My name is Shantae McLaughlin, and I am running for City Council Ward B at large. And the reasons why I'm running is because I worked on several elected campaigns. I worked on about 10 campaigns, about 7 of the officials are currently in office. And I believe that a lot of our public policy leaders are not being held to account to do exactly what they said that they would do when they were taking office. So there's a lot of promises that get made along the campaign trail. However, once in office, a lot of those promises go unfulfilled and unmet. And so I decided to run for office. I feel as if I could help put people in place, then I could put myself in place. And so that is the reason why I'm running for office, to hold elected officials to account, to be public policy leaders over being an elected politician. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know we had Ms. Terry. I don't know what happened. Maybe she'll come back. Mr. Williams.
Hey, everyone. Again, thank you for having me. I'm running for Ward B at large position at councilman. My background is very, very simple. How can I start this? I went to Alcorn State University, HBCU. My background is politics. My family are politicians in Chicago. I've been working in family centers and running campaigns since I was about 16 years old. I've led park district initiatives in regards to stabilizing programs for park districts and cities, as well as different programs for high schools of getting kids engaged with entrepreneurial activities, as well as getting kids engaged with the options of going to college, as well as getting kids engaged with the option of vocational skills. My goal as your leader is to be someone that unites the city and also brings economy into the city in big ways. Using my resources that I've been able to develop in the city of Atlanta. I've been here for 16 years. I've been a resident of East Point for 7 years, where I've coached inside of the East Point Basketball League, Football League, and Soccer League for the last 6 years. I'm a person that is all about city and community, and a lot of the residents in the area know me. I also had the chance to be able to work under Councilman Lance Robertson in Ward A as a Ward A manager, where I was able to bring in the big boy proclamation for his keys to the city. I also led initiatives to get elders more familiar with the STAR program that is offered by Fulton County. I also have a lot of home box delivery programs that I use that I actually participate in through different resources in the city, where we deliver boxes off to people who may not be mobile or have the ability to get to food drives. Also big in encouraging our citizens in the community to get vaccinated and know their options. So my voice is pretty much used to be able to unite and give people different options in the youthful innovation spirit to be able to re-energize our city.
All right, so I'm going to start with Councilwoman Renee. What would be a priority of yours for the next 4 years?
Well, my priority is making sure that, number one, increasing our public safety, our first responders, making sure that our communities continue to be safe. Crime is down 12% across the city. And we want to make sure that everything we're doing is continuing the progress that we have started. My second one is infrastructure. We are an aging city. Our infrastructure is not at its best. In fact, our water system and piping system is 50 years old, and some is 75 years old. We had a White House representative, Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, to come into our city. The first time we've ever had a White House cabinet member to visit this great city. To check on little small East Point. And one of the reasons why he came is because he had heard about some of the great works that we were doing in this community, changing things and turning things around and moving in the right direction. You know, East Point will represent some of the other cities that are smaller like ours all across this country. And the infrastructure is a major and a big deal. Even though he's a transportation secretary, he is also concerned about the infrastructure to help build and sustain transportation throughout this country. And so I'm very grateful for that. And another one of my platform issues is housing equity. We want to make sure that all of our legacy residents are able to maintain and stay in this great city of East Point, and to make sure our working families are also able to maintain as we grow and develop and continue smart growth for our residents as well. And so that is the three things that I am pushing for. There's a lot of other things that I've been working on, but I'll get a chance to share those later. Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin, what would be your number one priority?
My number one priority would be making sure that all first responders, to include CNAs and RNs, firemen, and police officers, that they have mental health first aid training, trauma-informed care certifications, as well as suicide prevention. I believe that a lot of the senseless killings within the community, a lot of the people being arrested and incarcerated comes from a lack of understanding. And this is with me being someone with lived experience of living with mental health myself. And this includes me being an advocate for mass incarceration reform, ending the stigma of homelessness, and ending the stigma of mental health. And I believe that the reason why CNAs and RNs need the training themselves is because the trauma that they're exposed to. It's unfair to expect these people to do this work every day, especially the police officers, the firemen, being exposed to that level of trauma without being cared for mentally, and expecting them to impact the community with a clear conscience and with a clear mind without having the right and proper needs that they need mentally. And there's ways to do this without it being a burden on the taxpayers through partnerships and collaborations. I saw a question come up in the Q&A of some of the committees that I've sat on. Do you want me to answer that now?
No, just go ahead with what you're doing. And then I want to give Mr. Williams an opportunity. And I see that Ms. Terry is back, then I want to give her an opportunity. So that's one of your top priorities. So if you're finished with that, I will go to Mr. Williams.
Yes, that's my one top priority. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Williams.
All right, once elected, one of my goals and top priorities is economic growth. Apparently, the city believes our downtown is only good for shooting movies. In the reality, the downtown should be an economic hub for the city, full of restaurants, shopping, and businesses that bring life into East Point. I know investors who would love to bring their businesses to the city, but they don't want to deal with city leaders or the strange ordinances put in place. Recently, the Ward B community lost out on $1 million development due to building moratoriums put in place by the city during COVID, which left that investor with a terrible experience to remember with dealing with the city. I spoke with current business owners in East Point who informed me it took them 3 years for them to get a liquor license, only to find out that the setback the city kept referring to was never true. The majority of East Point residents go outside of the city to spend their leisure dollars, and that blame falls on the city. We have 0 healthy food options in Ward B, which goes against the city's Healthy Point agenda. How can we continue to trust leaders with such absurdities? One of my top priorities once elected is to update zoning and ordinances that put restraints on the city. This will re-energize our historic downtown into an economic hub that gives life to East Point.
Ms. Terry, I think you left, we lost you for a moment and you came back. So what I would like for you to do is go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit why you're running and what would be one of your top priorities if elected.
Good evening. I'm on mute, yeah. Good evening. My name is Marie Terry. I reside at 2855 Seven Road.
Camera, you need to probably turn on your camera, Ms. Terry.
How you turn the camera? Put it back on. How's everybody doing this evening? My name is Marie Terry, and why am I running? I'm running to be a voice to the residents of this city. I'm running to put in place policies that benefit our community. I stay in East Point at 2855 Seven Road. And you did ask me to why am I running, right?
Yes.
To do the people's work. That's why I'm running, to do the people's work. And I will be a strong voice who will stick to the residents' concerns. And my top priority will be to make sure that the permits in this city are business-friendly, easy, and to make sure this city stays a business-friendly city. That's my top priority, to make sure we have enough officers that can help patrol this city to make this city a more safer city. That would be my top priority to the residents of this city.
Okay. I want to make sure I got everybody on that first round. Councilwoman Renee, could you, I know there's been a lot of talk in the past about the makeup of the current council, whether or not everybody can get along, or whether or not there's problem or infighting or council members suing other council members. What's your working relationship and how do you make sure that you can get along with everybody on council?
And you know what, and that's a very good question because that's really key. I have one of the personalities of trying to make sure that we all work together. And when there is a problem among other council members, I have been known to go to council members and try to work through and help people resolve certain issues. I am not one for the foolishness of just the debate just for the sake of doing so. I am about the resolutions and resolving the issues to make sure our residents are heard and results are coming from what we're doing. When we first got on council, one of the things that the East Point residents had asked us to do is to not be clowning and buffoonery on the on city council meetings. They were sick and tired of that fighting, inroad fighting among each other. And it was really sad to see. I'll never forget, I was at a city chambers meeting, Atlanta City Chamber, on behalf of the great city of, on behalf of Jaipur, actually. And one of the ladies recognized me and came up to me and she said, you know, that's my reality TV. I get a bag of popcorn, I put all my kids to bed, and I sit and I watch East Point. And that was sad to me. It was humorous for them, but it was no joke. It was no joke for us because we were not moving the needle. And it was important when I came on that we work with one another to get it done. One of the candidates stated, I think it was Mr. Williams, stated that we are businesses. We have been growing this city by leaps and bounds. Not only that, our census numbers moved up as well. When the census came around, we were out doing census event, pop-up census event at Wayfield Foods, East Washington, River Park. We were even over at Sammy Cheesecake, trying to make sure that our residents understood the importance of census and getting them registered for the census to make, not just for business growth, for residential growth, because that's how important it was. He also mentioned something about we lost $1 million deal on a warehouse district. Then again, we have to listen to our residents. Residents are sick and tired of warehouses moving into their neighborhood. They wanted to put a 1 million square foot warehouse over in the River Park district. We found a better use for that. Our use is mixed use residential and commercial sites, restaurants, other stores, convenience stores, those kind of things for our residents to make sure that we have a mixed use commercial use over there, not just warehouses. We are better than just warehouses in this city. We have grown much better than that. We are a city next to the airport. We could do better for our residents. And do you realize a lot of the warehouses that we've had in East Point, that we've had to go in and clean those warehouses out because they have polluted our communities. And so when we look at that, the residents of Jefferson Park, River Park, East Washington, all came to us and said, we do not want warehouses in our residential district. So this council voted for a moratorium so that we can evaluate what was going on, where were the warehouses going into. And what happens is when you got tractor trailers coming into warehouses coming into residential districts, it is a danger to our residents, to our kids, to even the seniors who are driving, trying to egress and ingress outside of their own residential neighborhoods. We even have to partner with, it is not just the residents we have to take a look at, we also have to take our neighboring communities. Hateville even gave us a call. We had a conversation with them. They did not want a 1 million square foot warehouse next to their housing residential in that neighborhood. We were on the call with them, that business people that he was talking about, the mayor and the other city council members, when they were talking to Jefferson Park residents and stated that they asked, one of the questions by a Jefferson Park resident said, is it by any residents, by the way, what housing or what residential units are over there? And the attorney for that company, you know what she said? She said, it's only Section 8 housing that will be impacted. Only Section 8 housing that will be impacted. The council members and the mayor that was on that call couldn't speak fast enough. I couldn't unmute myself fast enough to let them know that every resident count in this district, every resident count. And we want to make sure that when you come in here, it is not just for a certain sector of our communities. We have to do better about making sure we understand what's going on before we start speaking and saying yes and no to these companies. Smart growth is what we're seeking for. And that was one of the reasons why we put a moratorium in there. And that was one of the reasons when you listen to the residents and understand the nature of the business that are coming in, you want to make sure that your residents are protected. We have too many companies right now that are polluting in our communities that we're having to fight with, discuss, have major discussions to try to make sure that our residents' health is their number one issues and concerns when we're dealing with companies coming in. Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin, what skill set have you shown? I think you mentioned that you've worked with other campaigns and things like that. So what are some of the things that you've done to bring people together, to work together, to be an advocate for people in the city of East Point?
So I have not. So one, I've lived in East Point a little over 2 years now, and most of my public policy advocating has been more on a statewide level. So for instance, right now I do some advocating work with Peace America, who works directly with the Taylor English Law Firm, which is the law firm that's handling the litigation on the voter suppression law, making sure that I bring in people who are the suppressed, who are denied the right to sit at the table, and I make sure that they have a seat. That looks like working with several activists. That looks like working with people who have been mass incarcerated. That looks like working with people in the recovery community to make sure that they have a voice, considering that there are 1 out of 4 Georgians are incarcerated. And I've heard the different statistics, but I've also seen that East Point is considered the second most violent city in the state of Georgia. So me working directly with an organization that's going to impact the laws as it pertains to us having the right to vote. And then I've also been advocating for there to be pop-up DMVs at different jails and institutions, so that it decreases the homeless population, because people are now given the right to have their birth certificates and IDs on hand. And it also allows people to return to work. I've been working with the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Center right there at the Old Point University, creating wraparound services, although they were told that East Point does not need, although there's a whole campus, that's the old Atlanta Christian Academy and the Old Point University, they were told that East Point does not need a program for reoffenders, and that East Point does not need housing for reoffenders, because they were willing to use that campus to create housing where they've been creating jobs that specialize in people who are coming out of mass incarceration. I also sit on the Client Advisory Council for the homeless for Atlanta through Partners for Home, which looks like they're the program that funds Gateway, that funds In-Town Suites, that funds all of the programs throughout Metro Atlanta. I've also worked as Rob Pitts, who's the chairman of Fulton County. I worked directly with Elizabeth Thompson as his campaign manager assistant. I've worked on Shana Rook's campaign. I've worked on Marvin Arrington's campaign through Rob Walker. I've worked on Shalice Steele Young when she was going to run. I've done neighborhood cleanups in the Bluff and various areas with Antonio Brown. So I worked on several campaigns, and I sit on several committees. If you need me to name more, I can.
I think that's enough, since you've been busy. Ms. Terry, what are some of the organizations that you've worked with to as an advocate for people in the city of East Point? Ms. Terry? You're muted.
Yes, what did you say? I'm sorry.
What, can you just name some instances, some organizations that you've worked with as an advocate for the citizens of East Point?
Well, probably no organizations, but I have worked with the Neighborhood Association here in East Point and River Park. I also formed my own neighborhood association to advocate for the residents in this city and in East Point. I was a part of the building authority in East Point. I was appointed to the ethics board here in East Point. And when I became the president of Neighbors to Neighbors of River Park, I advocated for the resident when it came to blighted properties in the community. I went forth with the city councils and I advocated. I also got with the ClickFix tool that they use in East Point to report all the blighted properties and what's going on in the neighborhood. I also worked with some of the neighborhoods like Jefferson Park, Center Park. I visited East Washington with a cleanup numerous of times, and this is not my first time running, so I am familiar with running in this city, with advocating, trying to advocate with the city councils, going before the city councils for the residents of this city to make sure that we have enough patrolling in our neighborhood. I have definitely worked closely with the city councils with the property and the blighted property, and also with the senior citizens. I advocated for them to get a discount on their bill. I also advocated about the power cost adjustment in the neighborhoods to find out why the power bills are so high in the community. And I just been advocating, and I still am advocating for the city for the roads, the streets, the stop signs, the speed control in our cities, make sure that our cities are safe. I've also talked with different residents, different businesses around the neighborhood here in River Park, so that they can join in with us to make this a safe neighborhood. I've been advocating with this city for a while to make sure that the city councils of this city serve us in a way that we need to be served, to make sure the city is safe and that the residents of this city gets what they need in order to survive and thrive in the neighborhoods.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
All right. To address something our current incumbent said, there isn't a multi-mixed use property on the books right now, just for clarity, because she stated that there is no mixed use project on the books right now. In regards to things that I've done, unlike my counterparts, other than the incumbent, I've worked on the food box drives from Mission to Bless and Impact Church. As a Ward A manager under Councilman Robertson, I worked to get properties sold on the 50 worst properties list. I was a White House National Leader Liaison during the pandemic, where I got to be a part of Operation Warp Speed, where my job was to relay that information from Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci and Attorney General James to the rest of the citizens of the community. I also delivered proclamations to First Malibu Baptist Church and Wayfield Foods for their work in the community during the pandemic. What else? I've worked directly with residents to address concerns as a city manager in Ward A. I also coordinated the Shaka Claus event with Ms. Karen Renee. I've also been an East Point coach, as I stated earlier, for the last 6 years. And I've also done clothing drives in the community for the last 2 years.
All right, so I have some, I guess, some tough questions. Some people want to ask, does anybody know what the budget is of the city of East Point? Anybody want to tell me what that is, or do they know?
But the budget,
What's the
The
budget?
budget currently was $574 million. $180 million, well, to round it up, $180 million.
Okay, so that is the budget, and you have a population a little under 40,000. So, and here's how my question goes, that I think unlike most of you, I've been living around East Point longer because I'm a native Atlantan, and I have a great idea where the boundaries are. So when you talk about your tax base, there is no more lands to annex, to incorporate. So it's no way for you to physically grow the city. So how do you work to improve the city of East Point, and taking in consideration that a lot of your residents are people who probably have retired from working at the airport, and without overtaxing them, how do you move the city of East Point ahead? And if I confuse the question, let me know. Well, how do you grow East Point from a monetary budget item? How do you deal with issue when people talk about protecting your first responders, police officers? How do you all do all of that with limited resources without increasing taxes? How do you do that? And I will start with Councilwoman Renee.
Thank you. First, I really want to give you the accurate amount for the budget for this year. It's $163,717,000. And because what happened is during the COVID, we did not collect as many property taxes because of that. Now, the question is, how do we move on a shoestring budget? What we have been doing over the past years, Since 2018, we have grew this city in business $500 million. We've increased employee raises. We have brought in workforce development to make sure our young people and our residents, period, make sure for the workforce development standpoint, to make sure that the job development skills are on point so they can get higher paying jobs. That is very important for us. We roll back our millage rate to 13.25 millage rate. We rolled the property value for the property taxes back. What we did was we looked at the fact that if we grew the city, we looked at our blighted properties. When we first came in, we did an inventory of all of our blighted properties. We wanted to make sure we understood where the problems were. And we also understood that when we came in, 23% of our housing was vacant property. And so our initiative was to help remove blighted properties in our community. There was a program that had already started before we got here. It was called the 50 Worst Property. What we did was expanded upon that properties. What we did was we stopped homeowners who had lived in different cities or developers. What they would do is they would buy properties in East Point and sit on them and let those properties just grow, be overgrown, dilapidated, and attract some very people that were not in this neighborhood for the greater good. And so we came up with a blighted property tax. We made sure that if they were going to sit on that property, that they were not going to hold our residents hostage with these overgrown, dilapidated homes. That was one of the ways that program has been so successful that our staff has been able to travel all over the country, training other people on how to be successful in our blighted properties. And unfortunately, when the blighted property hit, it hit in East Washington and in River Park. There was the hardest hit and the biggest amount of blighted properties that we had in the city. They were all over the city, but unfortunately, they were bigger in our neighborhoods. If you travel through those neighborhoods now, we could tell that we have been doing the work to improve those communities. We do have more work to do, but you can absolutely tell the property values are gone up. And so therefore, because the property value is going up, we don't have to raise the millage rate because we're able to take the funding what we have from the property values and work and maintain our cities. We did this during the pandemic. I don't know of any other city in this United States of America that was able to suspend turning off any of the utilities on our residents. We did not turn off utilities in 18 months from our residents. And that was because, one, the schools were closed down. In February of 2020, our unemployment rate was at 4%. By the end of March, it had grew over to 20%. And by them closing the schools, we knew that our students would not have an opportunity or would fall further behind. We went out, we raised funding, private funding for tablets for our kids so that they can keep up with their schoolworks. And then also the city, what we did when we came in, we were in such of a deficit and so far behind. We first had to get that under control. Once we did that, we put in a 6-month savings to make sure that our residents, in the event of a catastrophe or hurricane or tornado, we knew that the governor was not going to come and save East Point. We knew that. And so what did we do? We put a saving in place to make sure that in a pandemic or something that happened, that we will be able to carry the city forward. We did not miss not one service for our residents. No services were cut off, and not one of our residents missed a service during the pandemic. We developed 5 food distribution sites over the pandemic. We still have 2 now. We did.
I know we got to get in here.
Okay, all right. So these are some of the things that we were able to do and continue to do to make sure that our city was maintained safely. Crime went down. We made sure that we did not raise utility rates in 8 years. When inflation is going on around us, this city, this council member did that. And I'm sorry. No, I'm going to stop. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Ms. McLaughlin, I'm sorry.
My apologies. Do you mind repeating the
I
question?
don't remember what the question was. Councilwoman, can you tell me what the question was? I was trying to read another question.
That's okay. The question was like, with our budget, how do
Yeah.
we help maintain the growth and the continuous success that we're doing right now? And the budget right now is 163 million.
I just asked you to ask the question now.
Okay, sorry.
So a lot of maintaining the success comes with partnerships and collaborations. You know, everything that I propose, like there are so many you can go to Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network and it's $2,500. $2,500 in a one-day training to train 30 people on mental health first aid. So could you imagine the impact of training 30 police officers or 30 firefighters at that rate? There's organizations like Riverwood, or actually, what's the name of it? So I actually have a client, Recovery Consultants of Atlanta, and we do various trainings and certifications and things like that as well. There's Navigate Hope that does things like suicide prevention training for free. They'll come to you and do trainings at no cost. So to get our CNAs, our RNs, our first responders, and our firemen trained, it can look like no additional tax rates for our citizens. And I live in East Point, and I am a single parent. And during the pandemic, I had a cutoff notice. So I don't know what the whole 18 months is about. I actually sat, my campaign manager to begin with was Robert Bryant, who ran for Public Service Commissioner. And during the time he sat on one of the committees, it was a committee that they were trying to form here in East Point about the electric rates and how the city owns and controls the electricity rates and how ridiculous the pricing is. And when it comes to a lot of these entrepreneurship programs, like I live off Stanton Road, and when I get off my highway, I see at least 6 to 8 kids running up to me with water bottles and Gatorade bottles where they could risk getting hit by cars, getting trafficked. They could risk going to jail. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen to these kids. So when we're talking about developing entrepreneurship programs, we can't leave out the kids that may not look like, like my son's an ambassador at Tri-Cities. So it's like, just because my son has iPhones and Jordans and everything else and a great family structure, even with me being a single parent, it doesn't mean that we leave out these kids who may not have those kinds of resources at home. When we start talking about community development, like what happens to these children, to the ones from the blighted communities, and to the ones who may not have access to food and resources, like what happens to them other than mass incarceration? So we have to, when we start talking about inclusive excellence, we have to include everyone. Everyone deserves a seat at the table, not some. And I'll say this, with this being my first time running, I think that it was a disjustice that for several of us who are qualifying that we had, because the last question you asked was about working together. There was a question asked about being able to work together. I think that it was a disjustice that before even qualifying happened, that the mayor came out and endorsed the incumbent without knowing anything about the rest of us. I think it was a disjustice that when I met Representative Schofield and all that I did was introduce myself, she said that she wasn't going to support me just because I introduced myself. So it's like, we have to stop with acting like the good old boy system is just a bunch of white boys sitting around. The good old boy system is a lot of these Black people who are sitting in office, who are running together because re-elections are coming up and they're not doing what they said that they would do when they took the oath of office.
Right. Ms. Terry, let me get Ms. Terry, go ahead. I think you muted again.
Okay, if you do that question again for me, please.
How do you, with some of the things that you want to do for the city of East Point, how do you do that with limited funds from your budget?
Well, with limited funds from the budget, I will make sure that those funds are spent well toward the residents. I would make sure, that's one thing I would make sure. I would put the resident first with a limited budget. I wouldn't go out buying a whole lot of stuff. And I'm keeping in mind of the way you'll work with the resource that you have if it's limited. And you'll make sure that the resident of this city is the first in play for whatever the expenses or whatever the monetary that you have. And I just want to speak on what the incumbent Karen A was speaking about the 50 worst properties and what they did to reduce this and to reduce that. I live over here in River Park, and with the pandemic and with all the food given away and stuff like that, you know, which was given to all of us from the federal government, and with nothing being cut off, I had a whole lot of residents. Like I say, I advocate for these people over in River Park that was getting their utilities cut off. And in 50 worst properties, which we are still going through right now over here in River Park. That program is good, but it wasn't as good. So with all the monies that they had and then with the limited of the budget, I mean, nothing really worked, as she was saying. And with that budget, when you said, I want to iterate on that one, even though she said it was inaccurate, it was probably inaccurate, but that is what it says on the website. $175 million and something cents. But $163 million, it does not reflect that. But first, the city or the councils that's on there now, some power was cut off. The kids in our neighborhood, they didn't have hardly anything. So I don't know what they're talking, what they done with that money and the budget that they have because of the pandemic, whether it was a pandemic or not. These neighborhoods was not served in the way it was supposed to be served, be it limited funds, no limited funds. I would make sure that the residents of this city, and that's the whole city, Ward A, Ward B, Ward C, and Ward D, which we are one big city, would be served with limited funds. I would be careful how I spend my money. We have to watch our spending. And that is what I would do. Watch the spending so that we'll be able to make it and thrive with the resources that we have. And we do have some resources here in this city. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Ms. Terry. Mr. Williams.
All right, so there's a couple of things we could do with what we already have. Develop our downtown, diversify socioeconomic base by diversifying our housing inventory. We can't turn away condo developments as the council has. These projects could include affordable units, but still get denied. But council did support tax credit apartment developments that have built must be that way for 30 years. So we can't try to grow while holding the city back at the same time. Lastly, management of funds. Our city currently receives a 3% unrestricted hotel and motel tax each fiscal year. With those funds, we could address beautification, license plate readers, and cameras in high crime areas to help officers hire more city and park staff, or maybe attend to our crumbling infrastructure. Yet, as Councilwoman Shropshire said in the last forum, we take $150,000 of those funds to produce Wednesday Wine Down annually. This event yields close to zero in profit in comparison to what it costs to produce an event of this magnitude. Simply put, it's a huge expense for the city. Through proper management of this event, we could cut costs and apply those funds to many of the areas in need throughout the city while making the event more local artists and business inclusive. If elected, I will fight to make the existence of this event more beneficial for residents environmentally and financially. So those are just some of the things that we can do to push our city forward.
All right, let's talk about, there's a question, and this was an issue with the forum that we've had before. Want to talk about recreation opportunities. These are things that are important to young people, and it also affects the quality of life. And it's also something that people would look to a city when they're thinking about moving. So how would you advocate for green space, and any other opportunity for young people? And I'm gonna start with you, Mr. Williams.
Oh, well, see, that's easy for me. Everybody that knows my campaign know that I am all about the children. I have been fighting for the last 18 to 19 months to get these council people to restore our parks, put our basketball rims back on the backboards for the kids around the city. It's heartbreaking and disheartening to watch kids come to the park just to dribble around the cage to not be able to actually use it. And when asked about this, well, let me start here. I don't know what our beautiful city would do without the concerned members in the Facebook groups pointing out the lack of upkeep in East Point. Where will we be without members tagging seat holders to no avail in Ward B, constantly to point out hazards and pollution that turn into eyesores after months of ignoring? Why is the brick "Welcome to the East Point" sign on Cleveland still smashed into pieces for another year? Why do families have to continuously point out broken park benches and slides? If elected, I will fight to increase park service staff, which currently has 7 members for 22 parks and green spaces. That's unacceptable. If elected, I will collaborate with our police department to bring community service cleanups to East Point for offenders. For the last 19 months, kids haven't been able to play basketball at the parks, even though Atlanta restored its parks before the summer started. Our staff and residents deserve better management, and that's something you can count on me once elected. I can't hear you.
We're going to Ms. McLaughlin.
Okay.
Same question. Do I need to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
I
go
heard
ahead.
it. So I've actually worked with Moses Jitsu down and Keep Atlanta Beautiful several times, to the point where I can call him directly for almost anything. So if we have Keep East Point Beautiful and it's through the same campaign, I just don't understand why we don't have more neighborhood cleanups. I'm against mass incarceration slavery, which means that here in Georgia, when people are incarcerated and they work and do cleanups, they don't get paid anything for it, and they're released from jails and prisons with no money. So because I'm against that slavery, I won't advocate for that. I'll advocate for community leaders, for people, community stakeholders, for small business owners, getting involved in the community to clean up the community. I've been to one neighborhood association meeting, so I'm not gonna act like I've been out and about during COVID. You know, and being a former concert promoter, I work for one of the largest hip hop stations in the US, and I work for a hip hop station here. And I think that it was absolutely absurd to have Wednesday wind down in the midst of COVID with people with the eviction moratorium going on, with neighborhood parks looking the way that they do. I had at one of my campaign fundraiser, I had a woman from South Fulton say that between the areas of South Fulton, College Park, and East Point, she couldn't find a park to take her children to. So it's like, we need to have our own, like here it is in East Point. The West End just went through gentrification where the whole city is looking different. And here it is in East Point, we're starting to lose the flavor and the culture because of people thinking that they should put profit over people. So in dealing with things such as green space, we need to use what's already there. There's no reason to increase the budget to put in place things and structures that are already in place. It's on the website that there is Keep East Point Beautiful. So why are we not working with Keep East Point Beautiful to keep East Point beautiful?
Okay. Ms. Terry.
Good evening. I've worked with, in order to keep recreation and stuff for our children, I have worked with Francis Kennedy with Keep East Point Beautiful. I've also advocated over here in River Park to get our park, River Park Park, revitalized. I worked with Kaboom, Peach State back in 2018. We did get River Park finished. I also worked with the residents of this city, and I've talked with a lot of young kids over there in Muner Park in East Washington about getting a basketball goal. And I've spoken with some council members about also trying to get it where our kids would have more to play with in Brookdale Park. And I've talked to a lot of residents in Egan Park about getting a pickleball, which is a great recreation for our children, because our children needs that recreation. I am advocating for that, fighting for that in Brookdale and also in Muna Park to make one of those parks, one of those like platforms, something for the basketball for kids. I talked to little young kids over there on Holcomb Bridge, and this is what they want. And I'm advocating for that because yes, our kids do need some type of recreation. There's nothing here in this city for recreation for our kids. Kaboom, Francis Kennedy, Keep East Point Beautiful. I have worked in East Washington, picking up paper, and I have joined in with some of the residents and even some of the people walking the streets so we can keep our parks clean. We do need more recreation, a lot more recreation for our children. We definitely, because I have 3 kids myself, foster children, and I advocate for them also, as well as the community kids, as well as all kids in this city. We do need more recreation, even for the middle class, for the senior citizens. They need parks to go to. We need our parks. I advocate for our parks to be lit up. We need lights in our parks. We need grills in our parks. We are the stakeholders. That's what I fight for. We're the stakeholders in this city. So our children and our elderly should be able to walk in our parks with the money that we have to fix our parks and enjoy themselves because they own the city. And I am a servant of this city. If I'm the council, I will advocate and I'll make sure that whatever spending, whether it's limited or not, that these citizens be taken care of. We need to think about our children because they are the next generation coming. They're the ones who we need to look to make sure they are healthy and a strong environment and a safe environment. Our parks need to be upgraded. I am advocating for every park. Recreation, that's what I'm all about. The children and the elderly of this city, and make sure that I'm advocating also, and I'm working hard. I've talked with residents since I've been running my campaign to make sure that each and every facility is accessible to the people in wheelchairs, which our park in Rural Park is not. It had not been since Kaboom. We need to make sure that all these recreational parks are set. I also was looking into being able to get, when you say a recreation center, Jefferson Park is okay, but Jefferson Park is not big enough. We need to get a bigger recreation center for our children. During the summertime, these kids, they do need somewhere to go. They need a pool. We don't have a pool in this city for our children to swim in. We get trainers. Let's involve the neighborhoods, the residents, neighborhood president, all of them, to see if we can get every community. It takes a village to raise children. So when we got these parks ready for our kids, then we need to be out there watching them. I was told over there in East Washington by some of the residents, some of the business owners on Bayard, they wanted something for the children. And they spoke with the mayor about that, and they wanted to open up that park. And because of pandemic, I mean, it should have been opened up some type of way for those children. They playing in the streets with these basketball. No. To me, you vote for me and you elect me, I'll make sure that our children, who is dominant in every neighborhood, be able to have somewhere to play, somewhere to air their minds out, along with the senior citizens.
Okay, Councilwoman Councilwoman Renee.
Yes.
Parks for the children.
Yes, and I want to say this. We're the only city in Georgia to have an urban agriculture comprehensive plan. The only city in the state to have an inclusion plan. We have started a 26-mile walking path. We've completed the 1-mile model that will connect all the city. And since I've been in office, we have brought in grants to help us to rehab a lot of our parks, River Park, Milner Park, Brookdale Park. We've just passed in the budget to repair Colonial Hill Park to make it a greater park for all of our residents. We have been striving to keep and to maintain and to help to build our parks in this city. I think that people will go back and take a look from 4 years ago, they will recognize that we have done a great deal of work in these communities, and we will continue to strive for that. Before the pandemic hit, we were looking to build, and we brought plans to the city to build another large recreation center over in Ward D, because they had no recreation center over there in that district. And that was prior to COVID. And since then, that has been put on hold. To speak about our basketball in the parks, what happens is we try our best to follow CDC guidelines. People say, you know, let them play basketball, but the CDC guidelines say that is a contact sport. And what we don't want to do is put our young people in harm's way. We have a softball field in Milner Park. We've been having Little League softball going on because it is not, the kids are spread out and they are working within the CDC guidelines. We've had cheerleader practicing over in Milner Park, and we are constantly seeing activity going on in these parks. But no, we do not have at this time, because we are still going through a pandemic. People say, why spend it on the Wednesday wind down? We've had at the Wednesday wind down, we've had COVID vaccination, COVID testing, HIV testing there as well. Because of our COVID testing and our COVID vaccination, we've been able to increase vaccination in this city. Before we started the Wednesday wind down during the summer months, the numbers were at 17% vaccinated in the city. Now, when we take a look, as of 3 weeks ago, our vaccination rates have increased about 34% in the city. When we have outdoor events, it helps us bring awareness, and we talk, we get on stage and we ask all of our people, because of the safety and the health ramification that comes behind COVID. We want all of our residents safe. Yes, we need more children in the park. That 26-mile walking path that will be inclusive and that will connect everybody. We're a small city, but yet we are moving and we are doing the right things for our residents. I agree. Can we do more? Yes, and we shall do more. But remember, we are working within a budget, and now we're working within a pandemic still. And so we want to make sure that we understand that. After we started opening up the city, especially during the summer months, kids were going back outside. We had to catch up. We had to make sure we started hiring more of our recreational staff to cut the grass and trim it, and then follow through, making sure our parks were safe. We had a lot of vandalism in the parks. We are constantly trying to catch up with that. We've hired, not only have we employed sharpshooters in our communities, more cameras on our computer, on our tag readers for our police officers. All of those have been implemented. We've brought in more technologies across the city to help us maintain and to keep everything that we've asked, that we've bought, to make sure that our residents are safe. Those tag readers have been tremendous. In fact, we have more tag readers that are coming. And we're going to make sure that they're at our bus stops now. And it will not cost the taxpayers a dime. We've seen a lot of this through grants to make sure that our residents are continuing to grow and live in a safe neighborhood. Those are some of the things that we've been doing. And I thank you. And I know I need to yell. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We vouch
And I'm
up
asking
what I-
everybody to continue the progress. Let's not go back and vote for Karen Renee. I appreciate that.
Okay, so what we would do, we'll allow everybody, I'm gonna allow everybody about a minute, 2 minutes. I'm gonna start with you, Councilwoman Karen, just, your last closing remarks and how people can get in contact with your campaign if they want to reach you, so, a website, phone number, whatever.
Yes, I'm Karen Renee. I'm seeking for your vote for re-election. We have been doing the work. I work well with all of my counterparts in the city. My ward mate is Thomas Calloway. For the first time in history, we have been working, all of us have been working together to make sure this city is a better place. You can reach me at electkarenrenee at gmail.com. And you can also, I give out my personal cell. You can reach me on my personal cell if you have any questions or concerns about anything that we're doing in the city, or have any questions. Please call me, area code 404-660-6526. It is easy to say, what you can do or what you won't do. We run on our record. My record is this. I've been doing neighborhood cleanups, have never stopped. From the time I was elected or before I was elected, I've been doing community cleanups, and I continue to do that every week. We send a team of people, either I'm with them or I send a team of people or volunteers down Cleveland Avenue in front of the Walmart station. Cleaning this city is what has been one of my pet peeves. We don't fail with that. We've asked volunteers. We didn't just start it because of the election. During COVID,
Okay, you're
we
2
were
minutes
feeding
up.
people. Okay, that was it. Okay, thank you so much. And I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
thank you guys
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
opportunity.
Yeah. Ms. McLaughlin?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Karen Renee, Ms. Marie Terry, and Mr. Anthony Williams as well. So I am an urban public policy leader and advocate with lived experience. And I understand what is needed inside of an urban environment and city. And I'm unafraid about taking a stand for all voices to have a seat at the table. And I'm unafraid to stand up to current and former elected officials who still control the city. So what that looks like is, if you would like to learn more about me, you can visit my website at www.chantay, that's CHANTAYEM.com. You can also call me on my cell phone at 404-709-5148. And I just believe that the work starts now, not on November 2nd. I've been saying that. I'm open to working with anyone who's willing to put in the work to serve people. And as it pertains to feeding the community, I usually work with Food for Lives. I've worked with over 50 organizations, putting them in touch with them so that they can feed communities throughout Fulton County. So thank you.
Ms. Terry?
Good evening again, you guys. I would like for you guys to vote for Marie Terry. If y'all want change, you all want me to do the people's work, vote for Marie, that so we can, a person that's gonna review the spending and that don't mind spending if it's for the residents of this city. Also vote for Marie Terry for the community garden so we can keep the notion of thriving for our children, to teach them how to cultivate the land so they can survive. Also vote for Marie Terry because it's time for the change. It's time to push away the table and stop letting everybody burp the wrong way. Vote for Marie Terry because I will be a strong boss who will stick to the resident concerns so we can get the pickleball, so we can get the recreation center. Yeah, we might be in a pandemic, but I am your pandemic. So you make sure you vote for Marie Terry to make that move because I am, like I said, I'm the pandemic. I got my mask on, but I got my gloves on to work. I will be your servant in this city, the whole city, not one ward, but all 4 wards. For the children, the elderly, everybody. And I will get along. I can get along. I can work with anybody. We're going to learn how to agree to disagree. And in the end, you better know who's first, the residents of this city. So I will get in there and I will find the money and I will take that money and I will spend it on the resident. Because this city belongs to the resident. It's like a pickleball thing. And we got to get that too. So y'all vote for Marie Terry, November 7th. My email is SSHORTY341 Again, SSHORTY341 My number is 404-210-0964. Hey, there's more to come. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Ms. Chantay, Karen Renee, Anthony Williams, and thank you to the Mega Kappa.
All right, Mr. Williams.
I don't know how to follow that one, but
All right,
I'm
you
trying.
finished it. Your time's up. Let's go. Go ahead.
All right, so guys, you can vote for me because I am gonna uphold my oath taken. All right. Some incumbents have strayed away from standing up for the residents and instead have decided to form a cabal to make sure their agendas always get passed, even if it doesn't result in tangible benefits for the city of East Point. City leaders have also taken upon themselves to circumvent the established voting protocol outlined in the city's charter. The Ward B at-large seat holder voted 3 times in support of paying the personal legal fees of a current council member. Our councilwoman voted in support 3 times, even though the city attorneys advised against it, and our mayor vetoed it twice. Our incumbent decided to change her stance once that councilman was outed during the city hall meeting last Monday. Why would someone who has the city's best interest at heart go along with such an egregious action? Once elected, I will put an end to politics as usual mindset that has plagued our city and destroyed the trust between city leaders and residents. November 2nd, if you all give me a chance, I will show you why you can win with Williams. You can find me at winwilliamswin.com or Anthony Williams for Ward B on Facebook. Thank you for your time. Thank you to all of the candidates.
All right, brother, we want to thank everybody. I know we didn't get to all the questions, but at least we tried to get to some of the questions that can help people in their thought process in selecting somebody to vote for and support. So each candidate has provided you with their contact information. So I think that it's important that, like we mentioned earlier, we believe in voter education, which would enhance your voter participation. So thank you for joining us. This evening, we will be back on Thursday with the candidates that are in Ward C and Ward D. Brother Boshless.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Again, it's a pleasure for us to be able to host such a very spirited forum amongst the candidates and providing a platform by which you can share your respective views. So it's nothing but the best. Our organization, again, is all about the community. We want to give this, educate our voters, let them have a clear choice of who to select when they go to those polls on the 2nd of November. Again, I thank you for your participation. We encourage you to encourage others to view our upcoming events. Like Brother Chair said, we have one Thursday, then we have another one on I think the 5th of October. So again, thank you for your participation. Job well done to all the candidates.
Thank you, and everybody have a good evening, and most importantly, stay safe.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night.
Somebody asked about a transcript. It is on Facebook and it is on YouTube. So you should be able to download either one of those recordings.
Yeah.